Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Frasier Fridays. We are wrapping up now, season rather, 7, part 2. We've got the last 12 episodes, really 11 episodes, because the final is an hour long.
Two-parter.
Two-parter, and what a two-parter.
Very big two-parter.
One of the, one of the quintessential things of Frasier. A lot of momentum for the characters here. So, where we last left off, Daphne has just realized that Niles has had feelings for her all these years. Frasier spilled the beans, and Niles sadly is in a brand new relationship with Mel, Maris's plastic surgeon. And by the way, we must say again how we're in the Merlin studios here. With some great lighting and some nice backdrop today. Just switching it up a little bit.
Yeah, it was a surprise to me, so I figured we might as well do it.
Yeah, so we start with They're Playing Our Song, and this is when Kenny wants all the shows to have just a little bit of a theme song. Are you going to say what I think you're going to say?
My favorite episode this season.
It's actually mine as well. Even with the Dr. Mary coming up and the Carlos and the Chicken.
And the Ender.
And the Great Ender. This is my favorite as well.
I love a good Frasier.
This is...
just
Yep.
His ego, it's fantastic because, I can see how this could easily happen. Like, if you hang on to something, I just want a little jingle to go with it.
Right.
But, he has to create this amazing piece of art, and before you know it, it's adding it on. It becomes this whole orchestra.
Right.
And he's got an actor who dials for narration.
Martin gives him this real simple, catchy theme
listening.
song. I'm listening.
I'm renewing now.
And
got a problem.
I'm listening. And basically, everybody, Ross was like, it sounds great. Daphne was like, oh, I really like that one. And Frasier's like, no. I told my audience that I would compose it myself, and my audience expects that of me. First of all, they don't give a crap. But he's so pompous, he can't see the forest for the trees. So, he has Niles reading this pompous monologue, and he's got the whole orchestra. Kenny comes in, and he's like, oh my God, the station's paying for this? What? Here's why this is my favorite episode of the season.
It's great.
It is great, yes. No, because we've gotten into this sort of, I don't want to say a rut, but as we've said, season 6 was a bit safe. Here we're getting very sitcom-y and a little hammy sometimes.
Pure Frasier.
This is like, you could have plucked this out of season 3. This is classic Frasier's ego, Frasier's self-importance, grandiose. Yes. This episode, and then Martin, of course, being the
simple,
complete antithesis to that, and
very grounded, very like every man.
Right. And then Frasier not listening, and then Martin, having the right idea in the end. It's
and they find kind of a happy medium.
This is everything that makes Frasier great.
I agree.
And the references are all very highfalutin. This to me, I'm glad you like it.
I love this one. Yeah.
Best one of the season for sure. My only A+.
Okay.
I didn't even think I had an A+ last season either.
I don't think you did.
This is so for me, one of the true greats.
This is great.
Of Frasier. Just I forgot about the monologue. Just
he's got an actor,
and that Ross wants her boyfriend in on the
to play guitar,
to play the
but
triangle.
he's like, he didn't have time for guitar parts. He wanted to have one in, but he couldn't find a way to make it work.
Oh my God!
And, the one lady's
so funny.
trying to ask what her part is, my name. No, you're just this instrument.
Tiffany.
You're just not thinking.
But
Tiffany.
My name's Tiffany.
You're just no, whatever. No.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Oh,
all right, so next is Big Crane on Campus. This is when Frasier bumps into his old high school pal, Lorna Landley, who was not his pal at all in high school. She was the hot, buxom cheerleader who has turned into a nightmare of an adult. But Frasier, wants to say, oh, I was with Lorna Landley. Their high school reunion's coming up.
Be careful what you wish for, Frasier.
Be careful what you wish for. And I really like that they brought her back in I think it's the next season.
Mm-hmm.
So Frasier can tutor her son because I like the character.
I like her too.
And it's what's her face?
I've seen her before. She's familiar.
Yeah, now I'm gonna look her up too.
Look up the actress.
Sometimes I gotta look them up because I forget.
A lot of great guest stars.
But some yeah, really. So this one is no, that's the next episode. Oh, Jean Smart. Now she's played on a ton of sitcoms. She's played Christina Applegate's mom in Samantha Who, and she's been around a long time. But yeah, Designing Women is really what she's best known for. But not one of the shows I used to watch.
No idea what that is.
But it was on like when Murphy Brown was on. It was very early '90s. Southern Belle kind of show.
Yeah.
But anyway, she's from that. But I like that they brought her character back in subsequent seasons because I like her. But yeah, boy, she really turned out to be like kind of crazy and very neurotic, and she's a wreck. She's just
bad
a wreck.
mother.
Yeah, bad mother. But I gave this one a B. Thought it was all right.
Yeah, good little moral at the end, you know.
Yeah. So next is Out with Dad. And this is when Frasier brings Martin to the opera. This is another mistaken identity of gayness episode where Frasier likes this girl, or I guess is it the neighbor again? I think it might be the neighbor or what? I don't know, whoever it is.
His love interest.
His love interest for the week from the opera. Oh, no, it's not because they talk about she's my ride.
She
So
brings
it's
up
not
the
the
neighbor
neighbor.
again.
But the neighbor does enter in
comes
again.
back, yeah.
But well, she was in the episode where Frasier and Niles got confused, and Niles thought he liked Poppy. And
yes,
that was the neighbor. So in this one, the woman at the opera has has a mother that Marty is not really interested in. So he's like, you know what? I'm sorry. It's not really going to work out. Da, da, da. So and she offers up, oh, you're gay.
Yeah.
And he's like, yes, of course. And so then on Frasier's sort of date with the daughter, they decide to try and hook Martin up with their gay friend, older man. And then, of course, we have to have the farce that continues. And Niles comes in as the boyfriend, the young lover.
Because he automatically thinks with,
right.
Of course, Niles can pull it off.
Martin, and I guess it's from his police work, but he thinks very quickly on his feet.
He does.
He's, they sort of pass him off, at least the boys do,
as sort of a simpleton.
Simpleton, yeah. And he really does, though, think very quickly on his feet.
He was a detective.
And he was a detective, and I'm sure that's where it stems from.
Yeah.
And I like that the writers, do that. They sort of... They know the characters very well, I think.
Yes.
So anyway, we've done the whole mistaken gay thing before. This one is very funny.
Yeah.
I will admit, not treading on new ground, but just the whole dust up between Niles and Martin. I forgot I have to call Mel later. Oh, who's Mel? Because of course Mel's man's name as well.
Yeah, like within calling saying, oh yeah, I have this relationship, and then breaks up because, oh man,
who's Mel? Oh damn it, you and your jealousy, this and that.
I have to get out. I've had enough of this.
It is very funny. Nothing I think will top that early episode with the station manager
with Frasier.
Frasier, but very enjoyable certainly, and that's a B+. Next is Something About Dr. Mary. We've brought this up several times.
This is another classic.
Another classic, and another one where they're sticking with the radio station here.
Dr. Mary.
And basically, Roz goes on vacation for the week, and so Frasier decides, let's do some outreach. Let's get somebody from the community. So this woman is just interested in a career in radio, wants to kind of know how it works. So she picks up a temp job as the call screener, and Frasier says, "Hey, be yourself, jump in, feel free." And so he starts giving advice to the very next caller, and she sure does jump in.
Like, I don't agree with that.
And gives her own sassy advice. And then that turns into a whole thing. It becomes very popular. Frasier's like, you know what? Maybe Mary shouldn't be so behind the scenes, I don't know. Thinking she's so popular, Kenny will say give her own show.
Yeah.
But instead he moves her into the booth with Frasier, and there's another sassy black woman.
He ends up not even really being in the show.
He's on the show at all. And again, maybe I'm a little biased because of my radio background, but this is such a funny episode. I think a lot of it does ring true with sort of how things go on. If the ratings are up, they'll just kind of do whatever. And Kenny's my favorite of all the station managers. Of course, he's there the longest, but I love how he's so weak-willed. But he does get things done when he needs to be. Mm-hmm. He really gets the job done. Yeah. So anyway, then there's a whole scenario where Frasier doesn't want to sort of tell Mary she's overstepping, possibly because of her race, and he's so it's a whole black thing, and which I think was very funny. Mm-hmm. And even today does not come off at all as racist or I think the jokes hold up very well. A great episode.
No, I think it's a definitely a very believable position to be in.
Yeah,
for sure.
So that's an A-. Next is Wine Club. This is about becoming the cork master of the wine club, and Frasier is all set to do it. Niles is going to nominate him. Thank you. And then Mel, and this is really the episode where I think I sort of turned on Mel. I think she
becomes the evil girlfriend.
She really becomes a controller here. Of
she's
things.
The Lady Macbeth, you could say.
Yeah. And so that's a reference that Frasier I think would approve of. But yeah, she basically says to him why is it always Frasier? Why would you nominate him? Why doesn't he nominate you?
Is it all right?
Just putting the bug in the ear and
creating conflict.
I don't want to get in the way of you two. Yeah, right. So I think here, which I think, I don't know, I kind of think that we needed this because, of course, Daphne knowing about Niles' feelings and stuff, I think we as the audience need to dislike Mel.
We kind of
do. You agree, right?
Yeah, kind of do.
Because at first, I kind of did like her.
Yeah, she was kind of funny. Yeah.
Good character, whatever. I like the actor's funny. But yeah,
there is kind of a little bit of darker side to her.
Yes, and I like that they showed that to us when they did. So I liked that one. What did I give that? A B+. Hot Pursuit is next, and this is when Martin goes on the surveillance case for Donnie. Donnie is a lawyer, and so he wants Martin to go do this, and then Niles is not having it because he's kind of afraid and whatever. And at the same time, Roz and Frasier are at a broadcasting conference and sort of trying to be lucky in love, and both striking out and end up in the room together. And will they or won't they? What's about to happen? We never end up finding out because then Kenny knocks up and says, "Oh, I don't have a room either, guys. Can I bunk with you too?" I think this is a very interesting episode for the series as a whole, and I want your opinion on this episode.
Well, I'm trying to remember because it hasn't happened yet. I thought there was an episode where they more directly comment on that idea, and I'm pretty sure it was with.
I believe they do sleep together in one of the upcoming seasons.
Because I remember that the Frasier Ross thing was a little more of a thing that gets brought up, and this must be like a tease with it.
If memory serves, I think in the next season or two, they do sleep together one time.
I'll be honest. I guess this is sort of. As far as shipping goes, I always liked the idea of Frasier and Roz being together.
Yeah.
To be completely honest, yeah.
Interesting.
I think they've got a good friendship as is, but I could see it because it's like I feel like they work well together. They've got a good dynamic, and they also understand each other well. Do you
think they could live together though and be a couple? Because I don't.
I don't know. I really don't know, but
I think she's too much like Martin, too you know,
blue collar?
just sort of blue collar, more you know, run of the mill everyday person. I don't think.
I don't know. See,
You know,
Frasier in the right circumstances, Frasier can kind of thrive, and so I don't know. I kind of like that they play with that idea.
But he's always her boss.
That's
you know, it's
true.
like there's always that sort of undercurrent.
That's true.
So
Maybe there wouldn't have to be that because that's true. He might. I don't know. Well, as he mentioned, it's one of the more important women in his life. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be romantic. I'm glad it's not. But I think it's interesting they played with it, and I know they.
I do too. I think it was an interesting motif for the episode.
Yeah, it was good for the episode. I mean, they definitely, and maybe that's one reason
I
why
kind
they.
of think it was maybe a tester episode to see like what is the audience response.
I wonder what it was.
To this. I mean, I guess not good because they didn't end up getting together, but I mean they did the one time, but I mean not like long term.
Yeah, it didn't become like a thing.
Yeah, I don't know. That just was always my sort of in the back of my head thought of this episode is that they were doing that sort of as a test.
Possibly.
And again, we were talking last time. Maybe the network was saying like, "Hey, if Niles and Daphne are getting together, what
if Frasier gets
Frasier and Roz?" I don't know. So I give that one a B+. I think it's an interesting episode.
It is.
All right, so up next is Morning Becomes Entertainment. Here we've got BB Glazer, who was absent from, I believe, last season because they weren't at the station.
Radio station.
So Frasier's contract is up for renewal, so they put him off for the week to try out this other show, and BB gets him a gig working a TV morning show. It's a Regis and Kelly sort of thing, The View.
By the way, I don't mean to interrupt you, Dan.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I think you guess how I feel. I don't know how you feel about it. I mean, it's a baby episode.
So I think it's very funny.
I think it's great.
Yeah. Okay.
I think this is one of the best.
Is this one of the best BBs for you?
Oh, for the season.
I mean, I gave it an A-. It's definitely. I think it's probably my second or third favorite BB episode because she
goes mad with power.
For the first time sees the fame. What happens is basically he's supposed to do it with Roz. She shows up very, very sick. So they're like, well, forget it.
You can just talk to anybody.
Throw a rerun in, and BB's like, no. I'll do it with you. Whatever. And what's great about it is I think if it were Frasier and Roz, it wouldn't have clicked like this because Roz I don't think would step on Frasier's highfalutin speeches and all this that he wants to do. Whereas right at the beginning, BB jumps in because all she wants is dollar signs.
Yeah.
So she wants what's best, and she knows that what's best is really, doing normal things and doing bits and getting the chimp to cook with him and all this.
Which is great.
She goes mad with power. This is probably my second favorite BB.
Because I just love how they play it out.
Yes.
When riding on the horse,
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. And I like that Niles is the conscience.
Yes.
You're a psychiatrist. You're better than this.
Yes.
Yeah.
They sort of go back and forth depending on the episode of, who is the conscience of, psychology and who really is doing the right thing, and I like that there's sort of that balance. But yes, here it's Niles, which I like. To Thine Own Self Be True is next. That is when Frasier wants to do the bachelor party for Donnie, and ends up getting a stripper that he ends up getting handcuffed to because of course it's Frasier, so he has the stripper come over and audition for him basically. And Daphne can't know anything about it and this and that, but of course again he gets handcuffed to her, and this is the neighbor again. This is the final straw for the neighbor, because the neighbor first sees him getting a paper about like who the strippers are, and,
well, a slut mag for,
right,
for
like
Seattle or whatever.
adult paper.
Oh,
and then she sees him with the stripper handcuff. So that's the end for her. But I like this one too. This was another A-. I think very funny.
I like how
classic farce.
After everything that happened, the stripper's like, "I'd go out with you."
Yeah, at the end of the day, she kind of
was like,
okay. Well, because I think she
saw like what he was
he's trying so hard to make everybody happy and this and that and the other thing.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah. All right. So up next, The Three Faces of Frasier. This is Is this? I was gonna say this is probably one of your favorites too. The caricature episode,
Probably.
where Frasier is so upset.
All right.
All right, tell me. Oh, do you not like this one?
No, this might be best of the season.
Oh, okay. Now I gave it an A-. It's not my favorite of the season.
No.
I knew this would be right up there for you.
Well, visual gags.
Gags.
But no,
this is better for you than the orchestra.
Actually, oh man, that's tight. That's a tight one.
Right.
I might actually really like this one because he keeps going back to the restaurant to get this caricature and keeps making it worse. And all the time.
The Frasier Crane way.
And it's also, I think it's...
nudging until it's worse and worse and worse.
What is it? It's Robert Loggia, whatever his name is.
It is Robert Loggia.
And he's always so angry. Mm-hmm. He's always a mobster.
Yep.
So you know you don't want to mess with him.
And as soon as they come in the restaurant, he loves Frasier,
What do you mean? You don't like the painting?
And then all of a sudden...
Let me do it again? And I'm just you just can see it's going to boil over, it's going to...
Frasier ends up going to Ross's daughter's party because she has a caricaturist there and shoving kids out of the way.
No.
has three different caricatures of him. Oh, man. I knew you would like this one. I didn't know it would be one of your favorites of the season.
It's right. I think it's right up there.
Okay.
This one was pretty great.
Yeah, and it's a good standalone episode because a lot of the episodes this season have revolved around either the Daphne finding out about Niles or the getting ready for Daphne's wedding or Frasier trying to get with the neighbor, Niles and Mel. This is like the orchestra episode. This is a complete bottle episode throwback to, just Frasier at his egotistical best. And I think it's where the show shines the most. So Dark Side of the Moon is next. Daphne Moon is, Moon's her last name. So this is when we finally meet our buddy Simon.
Anthony
LaVallia, the worst of her brothers. Usually we don't see him really doing comedy.
Actually, I'm going to say something.
Or you know him the most from comedy.
No.
Is what you're going to say.
No, I've seen him mostly in dramas.
Right, I was going to say that's where I see him.
He's usually a cop.
Right.
Or a mobster.
Correct.
And The Client, he was like the main bad guy.
The Client,
With Susan Sarandon classic.
That's the first time I ever saw him on The Client.
Yeah, he was good in that. He was obviously Without a Trace. He was the FBI director for that.
Your favorite show.
He's been in a couple other dramas. He's a good actor, a good dramatic actor. I don't know if I don't think he's good at comedy. I don't like his character.
I hate the Simon character
I hate Simon
so much.
He's annoying.
Yeah.
He's not funny.
Yeah.
I think I don't like him at all.
Well, and I think he brings out the worst in Daphne, as we see in this episode, because she's at the shrink, basically telling her how he's ruined everything, and then she ends up getting very nasty because she's so polite and proper that it just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And the problem is, there's sort of two sides here because obviously Frasier wants him out and is very vocal about it, but Daphne lives there too, Martin lives there too, so it's even though it's his place, he doesn't want to step on their toes, but Martin bonds with him.
Yeah.
My least favorite part about him is the Roz
thing.
part, the Roz arc, where he goes from girl to girl, and Roz basically kind of set a date with him, and then shows up for the date.
He's
already
who she is.
with another woman, and
he's a scumbag.
He's a scumbag.
Yeah,
he's a scumbag.
He's just not a very likable character.
No.
There's nothing. They don't give.
Do you think they have a good reason for bringing him into the series, or no? Because that's important. He can be a scumbag character, but if he's not good for the...
I want to say it adds more to Daphne's character, but to be honest, not really. I've been watching a little bit of season 8, and Simon's still there, and I don't think he adds much.
Yeah, he becomes a bit of a recurring character.
And I actually don't think he really adds much. No, I don't think so.
I agree.
I don't think so.
For me, this is the worst episode of the season. It's the only B- that I've given.
Yeah, I don't really like that character very much. Actually.
Yeah, I would agree. I do think he offers a little bit of a glimpse into why Daphne left England and never had any desire to return.
That's true. She always talked about her brothers. We see it now.
So I think, for nothing else, he at least offers that. Now, does he need to recur? No.
All right. Well, you know what?
But could he have been in this one episode and the wedding episode? Yes.
It is also a mistake because, like, said your favorite brother exaggeratingly, and he might have been one of the worst ones. And she's got a lot of them, so
right.
She might not hate all her brothers.
Right, but we see at least a bunch of them. Well, and we see her mother in the next episode. That really is not that great either. So like him or not, I do think it's important to at least see them in this context.
Yeah, I guess.
I agree keeping him as a recurring character is not a good idea. We'll discuss that more obviously in season 8.
Yep.
But finally we have now the 2-part finale, Something Borrowed, Someone Blue. This is when everything comes to a head. Daphne tells Niles that she knows about his feelings. But we also find out at the beginning of this episode that Niles is now married to Mel. They went off and eloped, sort of on a whim, and I don't even think eloping was the crux of it. They were just on vacation and decided, you know what, let's do it. And so they come back while Daphne's getting ready for the wedding. So once they're at the rehearsal dinner and at the party afterwards, everything is sort of out in the open. They kiss for the first time.
Yeah.
What's your take? Because I obviously have views on the Niles Daphne thing.
I mean, I've always really liked the Niles Daphne dynamic. Like I always thought it was one of the most memorable things about Frasier. It's one of like the other than like Frasier just kind of dealing with his life, it is the thing that keeps Frasier going.
Right.
It's the Niles Daphne dynamic. So I think there's some good stuff there. I think that I know what your opinion about this particular part's going to be, but Daphne is obviously very frustrated that Niles didn't come forward sooner,
right?
And so that comes up a bit too. Like, why'd you have to do this now? Like,
yes, worst timing
ever. I do think.
And now you're married.
You're married too. I think there's some funny gags. They're trying to do stuff, and the doors keep opening. They have to
classic.
That's funny. I mean, I did like it. I like the way it resolved, but I am glad that the way they followed up at the beginning kind of fixes the way they could leave it at the end, because they kind of try to pull like the Graduate sort of thing where they just kind of like go off and leave, like try to leave everything behind.
Tail end of the episode.
Season, which is potentially not a good feeling in a way. Like not let's screw it. Not only the way we left, but everybody else. Like the
forget
wedding.
Mel. Let's forget Donnie
and Frasier and
Martin, and all of our guests
like
and
that,
everything.
That was a kind of weird choice.
I wasn't worried about Frasier or Martin because I knew that they didn't want Niles with Mel.
No.
I mean,
all right.
Frasier certainly, because he's the one who intervened
and you know what?
And told Niles.
That's actually one thing I really like about it. I really like about it because Frasier, of course, is the crux, and he, in good conscience. See, this is one of the few times in the show where he tries to get involved and correct something. He's actually right.
And he's actually right.
And it works. And
one of my favorite lines
Martin?
of the entire series is when because look, Martin is the practical one.
Yeah.
He's the level-headed one, but he's not a psychiatrist, so he doesn't have that sort of thing. But when he says to Frasier,
so
there's two marriages on the line here. So whatever you do, you better be sure of it.
Yeah.
That is just I mean that really hits because it's like you because you as the audience member are rooting for Niles and Daphne.
Yeah.
But so much has happened now just in this episode or in the last couple episodes. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, right, you all of a sudden realize, if this were to happen in the real world, right, you would be really, I mean, the ripple effect of this, and and of course leave it to Martin to be sort of that.
There's a lot that will happen as fallout from if you wrong.
It's a simple thing to say, but it really rings so true. So yeah, I really like that. I thought this was a good episode. Mm-hmm. I gave it a B+ because I think there's a lot of moving pieces to it.
Yeah.
I have mixed feelings on Niles and Mel getting married.
That is kind of weird.
I just think the stakes were high enough as it is.
Technically getting married.
You know, of course, Martin couldn't have his great 2 marriages on the line, quote, without that. But I just think the stakes were high enough. I'm not sure that necessarily needed to.
How about they could have just gotten engaged too?
They could have, yeah, they could have just gotten engaged.
That would have been enough.
You know, because we've already seen that Mel's kind of crazy, and so she would have had, I think, the same reaction in season 8. You know, of like, what the hell did you do? You know, without them having to be married.
True.
And also now we're looking at, this will be Niles' 3rd marriage if he, you know, marries Daphne, which of course we know he does. So I don't know. I'm not sure if that was my favorite plot choice.
Did you not like the? Did you not like Daphne's sort of reactions to knowing that Niles had feelings for her afterwards? Where she do the little like, oh, hello, Niles.
I hated that.
Oh, you look good. Oh, I
hated that. Okay.
See, I
so
feel
we
like
can talk about that.
Kind of
we can talk about that now.
Because you've been,
so
that factors into the episode.
If you haven't been watching the Frasier Fridays, we haven't really talked about it in a couple of seasons.
He's over it.
But the whole Daphne Niles, you know, infatuation thing, really wore on me probably around season 3 because they kept playing Daphne off as a real dum-dum. Like, I mean, it was just, there were these obvious things that were being said.
Very obvious.
Very obvious. I mean, you know, even an imbecile would have picked up on some of these things. So I didn't like the way that they were sort of, because she's not a dumb person.
Maybe they tried to
maybe a little
her
naive.
spacey.
Yeah, a little she's a little spacey, maybe. You know, like Phoebe on Friends. Like she's a little bit, you know, out there sometimes, but not
my favorite.
Phoebe?
Yeah.
I love her. I agree. She wasn't my favorite for a while, but then by the end of the series, I was really on Phoebe's good side.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, you know, the last couple of years, they just, it's like, somebody would say something, you know, Niles would say something, or, you know, there would be some double entendre, and it's like, it would just go right over her head, and I got kind of sick of it. But then also, I am, like you, like I wanted them to be together. I'm glad they got them together. Mm-hmm. I'm glad it wasn't like one of these shows where, you know, after 10 years they never got, there. But, you know, so I'm glad for that, but, you know, for her to, even when she finds out, be like, oh, I had no idea. I think in that situation, a person would have then thought back and said, oh yeah, I guess when we had that romantic dance where I was pretending to be his girlfriend, he did, you know, make that comment, or that other time, like,
puts it all together.
Did say, right, like, she still had no clue. Oh my God, I never would have.
Such a great actor.
I had no idea, like, this, it's like, so they still kind of play with that whole dum-dum bit, and I don't like that.
That is kind of weak.
I don't like it. You know, that's my piece on that.
They clearly were doing that to kind of keep the ratings boosted and keep people interested. Like, keep them guessing. How do you think they could have done that without making her seem like an idiot?
Just made it less obvious comments. Like they were played for, you know, big laughs, but the laugh.
Would you help me get out of this address?
Like,
oh yes.
Like I feel like you could get. A lot of the lines were funny as they were. They could have been said just to Frasier, or, you know, or just to Martin, or whatever. Like, she didn't have to be in the presence with them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She would, like, clearly do her Daphne reaction. Like, she heard it and just was like, yeah, I'm going to ignore that, I guess.
I guess. Like, so I think they could have gotten around it by downplaying it a little bit. Yeah, I'm not saying she would have had to question it, or, you know, oh, what do you mean by that, Dr. Crane? You know, they don't need to go that far, but they could have just done things differently or written different lines that weren't so obvious, you know?
I agree.
So, all right, so let's talk about the season as a whole to wrap it up. I think it's stronger than season 6.
Yeah.
Because I think there's 3 or 4 very standout episodes.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple really funny ones.
Really funny ones. And I think a lot of them, progresses the storyline. Certainly the Niles and Daphne storyline.
So some of the funniest ones are kind of the bottle episodes.
But and that's what I think. That's what I think the slight issue with the season is.
Yeah.
Is that the funniest episodes aren't
With the
moving
plot.
the plot along.
Yeah.
And I guess that happens sometimes when you know the characters well enough. But I think if last season was safe, because it was on the new Seinfeld slot, so NBC wanted to see if it would, maintain those ratings. They did maintain the ratings, so I think they were like, okay, so maybe you don't be as safe this season. You can go for other things.
Visual gags.
I think the visual gags did not work for me personally. I didn't think it was keeping in spirit of the series. But that's not to say that a series can't grow.
No.
But I think obviously it was growing here by way of introducing Mel, getting, Daphne to know that Niles had feelings for her, ramping up the Donnie bit. Really, this was not much of a season for growth with Frasier or Martin or Roz.
No.
Bulldog even, I guess he lost his job, but...
we didn't see much of him after that
no,
episode.
No, I don't think he appeared the rest of the season, actually.
No.
But we do see him again, and eventually gets his job back. I forget how.
Yeah.
But we'll find out. But when you come to think of it, this season really has no growth for any of those characters.
No, not
but
really.
The funniest episodes were bottle episodes anyway. So
True.
Yeah, I would give the season a B+.
Pretty good.
I think because look at the grades. The lowest was a B-, and there was only one of them. So I grade wise, I think B+ fits. But yeah, definitely not up there with the best.
No, I'm telling you,
although some very memorable episodes.
There's always going to be pockets of really good episodes.
Yeah.
And this one definitely had a couple that we remember, like Dr. Mary and the Pranksters.
Oh my God, Dr. Mary. Carlos and the Chicken, the orchestra,
and
the caricature.
There's 4 episodes.
Those 4, I think, are all standalone episodes.
They're great.
Like if a person never saw an episode of Frasier,
that's Frasier.
I think you could show them one of those episodes, say that's Frasier, and I think they would laugh.
It's accurate.
Even not necessarily knowing the character.
It's funny. It's just purely
I think it's still funny.
And still pure to the show and what it's about.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I hope that there's potential for other good seasons. I don't know. So you think it's...
My memory is... it goes down in quality pretty much after this. 8 might still be good, but I think like 9 and 10 are kind of weak, really running through the motions. And then season 11, because they knew it was the last season, some of the original writers and creators had come back that left like around this time. And 11, I think, goes out with a bang.
Okay.
8, I think, might still be kind of good, pretty good in that vein.
I remember there's a joke that they did in this season they mentioned once, and I know that they bring it back later for Daphne.
Oh, yeah?
They made a comment about her weight.
Yes.
Which I didn't think was funny.
Right.
And I know that becomes a gag later, and I'm wondering how that's going to hold up, because I was like, wow, I didn't think that was funny. I forget what she...
It's interesting. Yeah, she was eating, they thought it was like pre-wedding jitters or whatever.
Oh, watch out for that. And I was like, and I remember this becomes a thing.
We'll talk about that in season 8, because that's exactly what happens.
That's a recurring series of jokes.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. That'll be interesting.
That was one I remembered.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's season 8.
It is, yeah. Well, and spoilers for our next Frasier cast, but the reason they do that is because she's pregnant in real life.
Yeah.
They obviously didn't want to give her character a baby at this point because her and Niles were just getting together and she's with Donnie. But I think at the end of this season, she was like kind of starting to show a little bit. So they started doing that.
I didn't think so.
Because I didn't think they wanted to, or maybe they just knew she was pregnant and so they started planting the seed.
Maybe.
But they didn't want to do the traditional like, she's holding a box in this, in this episode, or she's standing in front of the counter the whole episode. They made a conscious decision that they didn't want to do that. And I think it's also a sort of manifestation of, Maris had sort of an eating disorder as well because she was too thin. We'll talk more about that in season 8, but I think that sort of all plays into it.
Okay.
How the jokes will hold up, I don't know.
I don't know about that.
We'll see.
We'll see.
But for now, that is Frasier season 7. Please comment below.
Please.
We do like hearing from you guys with your thoughts. We have a couple of fans that do enjoy commenting a lot on the Frasier Fridays, so
nice.
I love that.
Thank
Frasier's always been one of my favorites, so I like that there's other really
base.
diehard fans out there as well.
Searching YouTube for like those two guys talking about Frasier
Yes.
for hours. Yeah.
Yes,
Appreciate
it. Here it is. You found us.
We're here for you.
So thank you so much for watching, and also check out Merlin's stuff. He doesn't get the plug every time, but I like to plug his stuff every now and then, and it's Merlin the Mighty. Great stuff there.
Thank you.
A lot of reviews, a lot of you've got some new series up. The Joe Loves Movies, The Drinkable Alchemy. Has been going for a few months.
And don't forget flamethrowers.
I was just gonna say I couldn't remember the name exactly, but the flamethrowers, which there's a couple that you haven't done yet that are on my list.
Really?
So yep. So we'll see about if you get to them.
You haven't told me.
I think I've told you one of them already, but anyway, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye.